Hey y'all, it's Grace. Today we're going to learn about what makes up the electronic products we use every day. What do you think of when you think of products that use wireless communication? I think of cell phones, video game controllers, or TV remotes. There are lots of companies that make these products, such as Apple, Sony, or Samsung, and most of them are widely known. But those that make the chips that go inside these products are pretty unknown. There are thousands of different companies that make these chips, and thousands of engineers that can help to make these chips in the future.
These are printed circuit boards, and they are inside of every one of the electronic products we named earlier. These square or rectangular pieces made out of black plastic are called chips, and they often come in many different shapes and sizes, as you can see here. A large chip usually does more things than a small chip. Some companies have hundreds of different chips inside of them, made by many different companies. Chips are glued to the printed circuit board with something called solder. If you take off the black plastic cover of a chip, you would see a shiny square or rectangular object called a die. The black plastic protects the die because light could change its properties. These die are made on a large circular piece of metal called a silicon wafer. You can see hundreds or thousands of the same die repeated on the wafer by tilting the wafer to the light. You can cut out 2,000 to 20,000 chips per wafer in a process called dicing and slicing. If you took a cross-section of this wafer, or cut it through the side, you would see several different layers of electronic building blocks. To make a wafer, you start by putting a thin layer of plastic material across its whole surface. This material is called photoresist. Photoresist stays soft if it isn't exposed to light, but hardens up if it is exposed to light, kind of like paint. Then an acid is used to remove the soft photoresist, but leaves the hardened photoresist. This creates windows in the silicon that allow you to put in certain chemicals that are part of making an electronic building block. Then a stronger acid is used to remove the hardened photoresist. This process is repeated several times. You can see different tiny patterns that are used for making just one step of a silicon wafer in a reticle. There can be 20 or more reticles needed to make a fully working die on a silicon wafer, and each reticle used to make a fully working die has a different pattern. Electrical engineers help to build this hardware, which is then programmed by computer scientists to be used in homes across the world. That's all for today, y'all. Thanks for joining me to look inside electronic products.